This is the NewsFeed at 4.
The Autism Speaks Walk was held in Fort Worth to bring awareness, but is its purpose doing more harm than good? And a 6-year-old in Austin was viciously attacked by his neighbor. Plus, Victor will let us know if our rain chances increase in the next week. All that and more next. So glad you could join us on this afternoon at the Newsfeed at 4. I'm Isabel Price, and we start off this show with a historic news in our state capital, where for the first time since May, Ken Paxton is returning to his job as the Texas Attorney General. On Saturday, the Senate acquitted Paxton of all 20 articles of impeachment against him. Michael Atkinson reports from Austin.
State and Attorney General Warren Kenneth Paxton Jr. is hereby, at this moment, reinstated to office.
A day that will go down in Texas history. Attorney General Ken Paxton, Texas' top law enforcement officer, was acquitted on every article of impeachment brought against him.
What I'm relieved about is it won't have a chilling effect on people that run for political office. This is a trial that should have never happened.
Paxton himself was not in the courtroom on Saturday to hear that historic vote. In a statement shortly after, Paxton, returning to his elected office, says, "Now that this shameful process is over, my work to defend our constitutional rights will resume." Governor Greg Abbott also reacting to the verdict, writing in a statement, Attorney General Paxton has done an outstanding job representing Texas, especially pushing back against the Biden administration. In an unexpected closing remarks, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who presided over the trial like a judge, condemned the House's impeachment of Paxton, saying he wants to change the Texas Constitution to raise the bar for impeachment. He also called for an audit of the money spent by the House Board of Managers to impeach Paxton.
Millions of taxpayer dollars have been wasted on this impeachment.
House Speaker Dade Phelan, who voted to impeach Paxton back in May, defending the House's work, describing his and other House members who voted to impeach a difficult vote to take, but not a difficult decision. And unlike others, they chose principles over politics.
The Board of Managers presented overwhelming evidence that Ken Paxton is the most corrupt politician in the state of Texas at this time. And the Republicans in the Texas Senate just returned him to the office of top cop.
The Senate spent some 9 hours deliberating a verdict. It would have taken 2/3 of the Senate to convict, but not one article of impeachment had even half of the votes, acquitting Ken Paxton.
Now, Paxton may be clear from impeachment, but legal experts say that after the Senate acquittal, Paxton could face a more serious legal threat by pending Justice Department investigation. State prosecutors said in February that the department is looking into allegations made by the whistleblowers that Mr. Paxton extended unusual help from his office to benefit a political donor, Nate Paul. He also still faces state secretary's fraud charges, a case that has stretched out for over 8 years, starting with an indictment just months after he took office in 2015. The case has been delayed for years by pretrial disputes, including a back-and-forth battle over the trial venue that saw it moved from Collin County to Houston. Keeping its commitment to serve our community. Beginning last week until October 15th, we honor Hispanic Heritage Month. Yesterday, the Latin American Music Festival took place on the Southeast Campus North Ballroom. The music and food was enjoyed by everyone, and guests danced to performances by area Hispanic musicians. Once again, events like this will be held throughout the TCC district campuses. Log on to tcc.edu to find out all activity. Northeast speech instructor Amber Myers is taking issue with the nonprofit organization Autism Speaks following its annual fundraising walk. Our own Ryan Couturier is in North Fort Worth with the latest.
Awareness, support, insight. Those are just a few of the words participants used to describe the Autism Speaks walk over the weekend.
We're out here having fun and supporting the Autism Speaks walk.
The annual walk is full of games and activities for anyone who shows up, all to bring awareness to the autism community and most notably to connect parents with resources for their kids on the spectrum.
When my son was first diagnosed, I felt very alone, scared, didn't know where to go, and he was completely nonverbal. He is now communicating in full sentences and beginning to parallel play along with his peers. It's been amazing to see the growth because of such amazing therapists, family members, people at school that's worked with him.
But that is one of the things that troubles TCC speech instructor Amber Myers.
It is not an organization that is founded by, organized by, representing autistic people. It is about parents of autistic kids.
Myers has been a stark critic of Autism Speaks for a while, with her most notable criticism being its history with framing autism as a disease.
I don't believe I need to be cured. I think society should just expand its definition of normal.
Autism Speaks volunteer Sheena Roberts fired back at Myers.
There is no cure for autism, and Autism Speaks does not push for a cure because they know that there is no cure.
While it is true that Autism Speaks does not push for a cure now, the original mission statement did include language about finding a cure for autism. Autism Speaks has changed their mission statement in recent years, which Angela Phillips acknowledged and praised at the walk.
I really love that the mission has changed. I love that they are moving forward, expanding their capabilities to provide content, to provide direction, to provide insight.
While both sides have strong views, they all appear to be in good faith. Myers, who refused to attend the walk, continues to criticize the organization for their history as one of the biggest reasons why she does not trust them.
When a group has established itself with some really negative behavior, they've got a long way to go. They've got an image problem.
Now, with this year's walk concluding, Autism Speaks raised a little over $35,000, which is $25,000 less than their goal of $60,000. That money is expected to go towards therapy programs like the ones here at the walk for kids on the spectrum to, quote, reach their full potential. In Fort Worth, Ryan Cottrell, the Newsfeed at 4.
Grammy Award-winning artist Lila Downs, one of the most influential artists in Latin America, performed this past weekend at the Morton H. Meyerson Symphony Center in Dallas. Her lyrics focused on justice and immigration during Hispanic Heritage Month. TCC's Krista Carson had the honor to meet Miss Downs and perform during the event, and she tells us more.
So this past weekend, I was one of the pre-concert performers for Lila Downs, a very popular Grammy Award-winning Indigenous Mexican artist. The main performers for Friday's show were Las Estrellas de Tejas, and then Saturday, the main show was with Sunset Dance Company in Dallas, featuring me as a guest artist. For Lila Downs' tour, Dallas was the only place that she was performing 2 nights in a row. That was Friday and Saturday, the 15th and 16th, to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month and celebrate Mexican Independence Day. So she reaches out to the local communities while she's on tour and wants to celebrate arts and culture. This solo dance work for the De La Rosa Dance Company is entitled Ella Sin Fronteras, which translates to She Without Borders. The work begins with spoken word, me speaking, in a mixture of English and Spanish. I'm just so grateful to have the opportunities that are gifted to me and that I get to share what I love to do most and celebrate others in it as well.
What a terrific honor. You can also catch Krista performing tomorrow night with Movers Unlimited at the first ever dance festival in Fort Worth. It will range from dance professionals, artists, students, and teachers sharing various experiences and artistic voices. The last day will be on Saturday, so go out and enjoy Movers Unlimited and all the other performances. Impeachment and shutdown is on the horizon in Washington. I'll have all that more and next.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
The Republican-controlled House Oversight Panel will hold the first hearing in its impeachment inquiry into President Biden on September 28th, which will focus on constitutional and legal questions. Subpoenas to members of the Biden family are also in the works, including subpoenas to the president's son, Hunter, and brother, James Biden, as early as this week. The subpoenas mark the first direct outreach to members of the Biden family and are expected to be for their personal and business records. Republicans have made Hunter Biden's business dealings a central component of the inquiry, which California Governor Gavin Newsom took issue with on Tuesday.
This is student government. Student government. Threatening debt again, or rather threatening a government shutdown again after we went through that process with the debt ceiling. This is student government. This is a joke. Ready, fire, aim. I mean, this is a perversity of what the Founding Fathers ever conceived of and imagined. So if that's the best they can do, give me a break.
And while there are Republicans who don't support House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's inquiry, citing the lack of direct evidence against the president, GOP candidates aren't ruling it out. A potential government shutdown, is getting closer by the minute. Some progress was made over the weekend. A group of House Republicans have come to terms on a short-term funding bill. However, nothing is set in stone and the clock is still ticking. John Loring reports.
There's less than 2 weeks for Capitol Hill to try and prevent the government from going broke and be forced to close its doors.
I do hope that we can avoid a government shutdown. In 2013, when Republicans shut down the government back then, it was very, very costly to millions of Americans.
6 Republican members of the House, 3 from the House Freedom Caucus, and 3 with the Main Street Caucus, closed a deal Sunday on a short-term spending plan they hope will prevent a shutdown. But will the rest of the GOP conference give it the nod?
We will do that this week. I gave them an opportunity this weekend to try to work through this, and we'll bring it to the floor, win or lose, and show the American public who's for the Department of Defense.
Republican sources close to the matter say the agreement has a 31-day continuing resolution that comes with a GOP-approved border security package. But some House conservatives are already giving the idea a thumbs down.
I strongly support their effort to stand firm and demand the kind of budget cuts necessary to make a small down payment on fiscal responsibility and reform.
In the meantime, the deadline is inching closer.
The House Republican Civil War is hurting hard-working American taxpayers and limiting our ability to be able to solve problems on their behalf.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
United Auto Workers leaders are back in talks Wednesday with 2 of the top 3 U.S. automakers, according to a source familiar with the meetings. Hollywood screenwriters are also now back at the negotiating table with studio heads. Laura Aguirre has the latest on both of these high-profile collective bargaining showdowns.
On day 6 of the auto workers' strike, the clock is ticking.
No wheels! No meals!
The union says more plants will strike if executives at the Big Three don't offer better contracts by noon on Friday. An impasse continues over demands like wage increases, pensions, and a 4-day work week.
Well, I have a problem with the approach the union's taking. Let's pay people what they deserve, but let's not be paying for people not to work.
I stand with the striking UAW workers. They deserve to share in these record profits that the executives are taking home.
The UAW, Ford, and GM are in talks Wednesday, says a source familiar with negotiations, adding the union meets with Stellantis, which owns Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, on Thursday. Union screenwriters, producers, and actors have been picketing for weeks, but talks between writers, producers, and major studios resumed Wednesday. Key sticking points: higher pay, streaming data transparency, and how artificial intelligence is used.
I support WGA and SAG as it relates to their existential stress as it relates to streaming and how it's radically changing the business model as it relates to artificial intelligence.
I don't want industry, studios to be able to use my likeness in perpetuity. We're striking as a whole because we're a family, and if one artist is struggling, we're all struggling.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Homeowners may save a few dollars in property taxes to the Tarrant County College District. The TCC Board of Trustees approved a new tax rate, which cut about 2 cents, the lowest TCC has levied in 2 years. To understand it a bit more, that rate is 11.2 cents for every $100 of your home's value. TCC joins Fort Worth ISD and the Tarrant County government in adopting the no new revenue tax rate. The faculty and staff on every TCC campus encourage each student to enhance your college experience by getting involved in an organization, club, or single activity. For example, the fine arts participate in art exhibits, including dance, music, and theater performances. And if you're a take-charge person, there are numerous leadership programs designed to help develop that skill. And of course, intramural sports are available on every campus to help you stay active and healthy. Search the keyword student life on tccd.edu to get involved. Coming up, a 6-year-old boy in Austin was attacked with a baseball bat, and migrant crossings continue to increase.
I taught for 20 years, but I started forgetting my lectures. Eventually, he had to quit. My therapist recommended we go to the doctor. The early Alzheimer's diagnosis allowed us to take control of the situation. He's been such a positive force and so loving. Thank you. You're welcome.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
My name is Teresa Barber. I was in the United States Navy and I served overseas in the Middle East and Africa. Early on in my career, I had a commander that taught our suicide prevention training on a Friday afternoon, and the very next day he took his own life. 90% of suicide attempts involving a gun are fatal. You don't know how much somebody can hide what's going on inside their head. Store your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Man, it's lonely. Like, going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
A 6-year-old boy in Austin is still in the hospital after being attacked in his own home by a neighbor. Court documents show the boy has multiple injuries after being beaten with a baseball bat. Betty Logan has more on the suspect.
6-year-old Jeremy remains hospitalized more than a week after a neighbor reportedly attacked him with a baseball bat in the boy's Georgetown home. According to a felony complaint against 39-year-old Daniel Logan, a detective was told by medical staff at Dell Children's that, quote, the child suffered multiple fractures to his brain and extensive brain swelling consistent with blunt force trauma. The court documents also stated that, quote, Daniel struck a 6-year-old child in the head with a baseball bat in a manner to where it was used as a deadly weapon. Jeremy and his family live on Rock Mill Loop in Georgetown. Neighbors say it's normally a quiet area. But on September 11th, Logan is also accused of hitting his mother in the face with the baseball bat, cutting her forehead, injuring her eye, and knocking out a tooth. Tonight, she's recovering, and Jeremy's father posted on this GoFundMe account that the 6-year-old is showing signs of improvement. Quote, as of this morning, the doctors are puzzled at the unexpected movements he is showing in all his limbs, as it was not expected.
Officials in El Paso are sounding the alarm about an influx of migrant arrivals. Leaders from the Opportunity Center say the Opportunity Center for the Homeless say El Paso is on the cusp of a third wave of migrants. Meanwhile, shelters in the area are already over capacity and have been for the last 3 weeks. City officials say the region has seen a spike of migrants at the border, averaging 1,200 people per day. The Opportunity Center says Customs and Border Protection are increasing the amount of people released on the streets. CBP officials say the agency is working to safely process migrants while enforcing U.S. laws.
Looks like Mother Nature is still very indecisive with what temperature and if she wants to bless us with more rain for the weekend. Current conditions, 93 degrees. Mostly cloudy skies and possible showers in the area with a high of 95 degrees. For our neighboring cities, Dallas 93 degrees, McKinney 88, Denton 91, Longview 92, Athens, 93 degrees, 94 for Waco, 92 for Abilene, and 88 for Seymour. As the hours go by and the sun begins to go down, by 8 p.m. tonight, 86 degrees, 10 p.m., 84 degrees, and by midnight, expect a low of 80 degrees. For our weekend forecast, starting with Friday, 77 degrees for our low and 95 for a high with partially cloudy skies. 77 degrees for Saturday with a high of 98. And for Sunday, you might want to keep those umbrellas handy. 40% chance of thunderstorms with a low of 71 degrees and a high of 96 degrees. For our 5-day forecast, starting with Monday, 70 degrees for our low and 91 for our high with a 40% chance of thunderstorms. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, expect nice and sunny days. For Tuesday, expect a low of 71 degrees and a high of 90 degrees. Wednesday, a low of 72 with a high of 91. Thursday, 71 degrees for our low and 91 for our high. And for Friday, a nice and refreshing 68 degrees for our low and a high of 89 degrees.
Thank you so much, Victor. Coming up in the next 2 minutes, Kraft is issuing a recall on their American cheese. Plus, ladies, this food study is for us.
Mom was always very self-sufficient, but we started noticing things were off.
I was forgetting my responsibilities at work.
I told Mom we should visit a doctor.
Alzheimer's. It was hard to hear that.
Early detection gave us time to seek information and support as a family. I've never felt more connected with Mom.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Need a ride? Yeah!
Driving with kids is a big responsibility.
Hop in and buckle up!
So don't sweat the small stuff.
You got paint all over our paper!
Get the big stuff right instead.
What does that mean?
Like making sure your kids are in the correct car seat and buckled up for safer travel.
That deserves a wiggly wiggly wig.
To make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Beep, beep. Yeah!
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane! Woo! You got this!
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
The Metroplex is smiling. The Cowboys are 2-0 after a 30-10 victory Sunday in their home opener. Dak threw his first 2 touchdowns of the season, and the Cowboys defense grabbed 3 interceptions off Zach Wilson. After back-to-back wins over the New York teams, the Cowboys head west to Arizona for a game against the Cardinals. The 0-2 Cardinals come off a loss to the Giants 31-28, a game they led 20-0 at halftime. Game starts at 3:25. 10 games left for the Rangers as their playoff hang in the balance. They're within a game off the division lead, currently held by Houston, but are also a half game out of the wild card. With tonight off, they prepare for the visiting Mariners as both teams are fighting for a playoff spot. Texas has 7 games remaining against Seattle and are back to full strength as Jung and Garcia are activated from the DL. Rangers and Mariners tomorrow in Arlington, 7:05. A great slate of college football this weekend as Texas opens Big 12 play at Baylor. TCU and SMU in Fort Worth play for the Iron Skillet. Also, happy birthday to the NewsFeed's Jason Hawley. His Wolverines take on Rutgers. And that's your Timeline Sports.
Joel, thank you so much. Now, welcome back, and make sure everyone to check your fridges. Kraft is recalling roughly 83,000 cases of individually wrapped Kraft Singles American cheese. This comes after several customers complained of finding the plastic for their cheese wrapped around it. Kraft Heinz said the faulty American cheese singles could pose a choking hazard. A company's statement characterized the problem as a temporary issue with one of its wrapping machines. According to the statement, a thin strip of the individual film may remain on the slice after the wrapper has been removed. There haven't been any reported injuries or health issues, and the faulty machine has been fixed. Ultra-processed foods like frozen pizza, French fries, and cookies could be linked to depression in women. A new study published Wednesday in the journal JAMA Republic Network Open examined the diets of nearly 32,000 middle-aged women. When the researchers looked at the specific ultra-processed food and drinks, also known as UPFs, only the ones made with artificial sweeteners were associated with an increased risk of depression.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Owen, when you came into my life, it was a whirlwind.
I just can't do it.
We didn't know what the future would hold, but we knew you would always be a part of it. Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I am so proud to call you my son.
Tens of thousands of puzzle pieces all assembled into one massive display, and all by one person. A woman in Texas with something of a puzzle obsession just finished that masterpiece, the product of years of effort. Daniela Hurtado reports.
Right now, this is what they just, or rather what she just finished today, a puzzle with more than 40,000 pieces. I can tell you that this in length is more than 20 feet and in width more than 6 feet. So this is a massive masterpiece. And you can see, of course, Disney related, kind of with all the Disney movies, your favorite childhood movies. And of course, we do have to mention that Disney is our parent company here at ABC 13. Just want to show you just the beauty that is this puzzle. So after taking more than 3 years to build this huge masterpiece that I was telling her parents, that looks like a rug to me. That's how massive this is. We were asking her, what are you going to do with this now? She tells us that the Beauty and the Beast scene that she built out is her favorite one. She's going to frame it. She's going to keep that one. But as for the other 9 scenes, she's still trying to figure out what she's going to do.
I had run out of puzzles to do. I was borrowing them from coworkers and friends and buying them from thrift stores, and I started doing them upside down and realized I needed to get something a little bigger to take up more time, and this one definitely did that.
And naturally, the next question is, what is she going to do with this enormous puzzle? Is it going to stay in the middle of the living room? Well, she does tell us that this Beauty and the Beast scene she's going to keep. She's going to frame and keep it forever. But what about the other 9 scenes? All of them taking, again, more than 3 years to build out.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Newsfeed this week, and make sure to go to tccd.edu to sign up and get involved for all student life. We'll see you back here next week. Have a great day.